For fantasy football, tight ends are already difficult enough to try and figure out. But are there any that we should be keeping an eye on because their drop from volume to efficiency could cause some worries going forward? That's what we're going to find out in this video. Yo, what is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back into the Fantasy Headliners. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about some of the tight ends that saw the biggest drop in final standings from what they did in terms of volume to what they did in terms of efficiency. And I can promise you there's going to be a couple of names that will absolutely shock you. So, should we be skipping on those tight ends? Should we be nervous about those tight ends? Or should we still be smashing draft on those tight ends when our time comes up? We're going to be breaking it all down right now. But real quick, first off, I just got to remind everybody out there that if you want to get your free 2024 Fantasy Football Draft Guide from us, it's super easy to do. All you gotta do is sign up on Underdog. And this is a great time to remind everybody about Underdog because I'm gonna be using their best ball ADP in this video. So if you wanna get your free draft guide and maybe even participate in a few best ball leagues with us, all you need to do is download the Underdog app, create a new account using code word headliners, and deposit at least $10. We're going to hook you up with our 2024 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, which is a $21.99 value on its own. You're also going to get a special pick'em that's almost guaranteed to hit and a deposit bonus. But it's time to hop into all the information. And the first tight end we're going to talk about is TJ Hockenson. When will he even be back? TJ Hockenson was our biggest faller last year from where he finished in volume to where he finished in efficiency. And at first thought, I was kind of surprised that he finished that far down in efficiency given the weapons that he had around him in Minnesota. But also, maybe it had something to do with how things went after Kirk Cousins went down. TJ Hockenson's worst categories were yards after the catch per reception, yards per reception, and points per touch. It seemed like TJ Hockenson was making plenty of big plays last season. He just wasn't making a whole lot of big plays after he got the ball in his hands. But he topped all tight ends, especially when it came to being used in the red zone and his overall targets. And even though he has no timetable for his return yet, he's still being drafted as the 15th overall tight end at 145. And I think that says a whole lot more about the tight end position than TJ Hockenson, but there are owners out there who are willing to throw a dart hoping that maybe he comes back by mid-season and then he does some good things down the stretch for the Minnesota Vikings. Me personally, this season, I don't know if I can buy into TJ Hockenson without knowing when he may be back. That knee injury was no bueno. Justin Jefferson just got paid, so he's not going anywhere. You still got Jordan Addison, and maybe we'll see a little bit different of a commitment to the run game with Aaron Jones this season and Ty Chandler backing him up. You've got JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold at quarterback, so it really depends on who they lock into. I'm almost willing to bet that Justin Jefferson will be number one, and depending on when TJ Hockenson is healthy, it may just not be worth the risk. It's kind of crazy that Cade Otton tied TJ Hockenson for most spots fallen from volume to efficiency, considering that Cade Otton wasn't even all that good in volume to begin with. Again, another testament to how bad the tight end position is overall. Cade Otton was pretty bad in both of these categories and still was one of the biggest fallers. And I believe there's a lot of people kind of gathering around Cade Otton being this big breakout candidate this season, which to me makes absolutely no sense given the usage Rachaad White gets in the passing game, given the fact that you still have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who's coming off a big season. They think Cade Otton all of a sudden is going to be some type of top-tier tight end. Now, one of his worst categories was points per snap. That doesn't shock me at all because he played more snaps than almost any other tight end in football, and his usage wasn't really that good. But yards per target and receiving yards were both pretty low statistically as well. Now, he did finish 10th in points per touch because once again, yeah, he was running a whole lot of routes, but he wasn't getting as many targets. But the targets he did get, he did a little something with. He had a few touchdowns, and his usage in the red zone was among some of the top tight ends in the league. And right now, Cade Otton's being drafted as tight end 20. So there are enough people that think that Cade Otton is going to break out this season, but there is a small group out there, a small cult of Cade Otton truthers that still believe 2024 is going to be his year. But he's never really been that great of a tight end when it comes to efficiency, and the volume that he gets really isn't that respectable either. Now, if he would have been one of our highest risers, if last season he would have gotten really poor volume but finished really high in efficiency, then at that point I could have said, man, he deserves more usage, and if he gets it, it's something we got to pay attention to. But he really wasn't great on either side. How about this for a shocker? Sam Laporta dropped 7 spots from where he finished in volume to where he finished in efficiency. But when you take a look at it, it's really not all that bad because he finished first in volume, which means he only finished 7th in efficiency. He just got so much volume last season that it was hard to keep up with all the efficient stats. I mean, his worst categories weren't even really all that bad. Yeah, yards after catch per reception, would like to see that go a little bit higher. Yeah, catch percentage at 13th, would like to see that a little bit higher. But 12th in yards per target, that isn't really all that bad. But he was first in receiving touchdowns, first in red zone touchdowns, and first in red zone targets. We know our boy Sam Laporta is going to get a lot of looks when the Lions get inside the 20. But overall, from a massive just volume standpoint, he's going to get looks all over the field. And guess what? Right now, he's the tight end 1 in drafts. And right now, he's going 34th overall, so right towards the end of the 3rd round. And really in best ball drafts, a lot of people emphasize wide receivers so heavy that those tight ends are going to get pushed down a little bit. When it comes to redraft leagues, I'm almost willing to bet that Sam Laporta, at worst, will be a top of the 3rd round pick. And I wouldn't be shocked if he makes his way into the 2nd round quite a bit as well. Do I want to spend a pick on him in the 2nd round? I do not. I would respect and understand why you might want to take him in the 3rd round, but again, your team would have to look pretty good with your first 2 picks for me to be on board with that. Evan Ingram, another volume monster that also fell 7 spots last season, just like Sam Laporta. This one does not shock me though. We talked about it a lot last season. Evan Ingram was getting looks over and over and over, and he was good in catches and really all the other volume categories, but his efficiency and his ceiling just were never that good. Last season, he finished 20th or worse in yards per reception, points per touch, and yards per target. Those areas, not that good, and it showed why his ceiling was never that good throughout the season. But then he finished first, and 3rd in several key volume statistics, including targets, receptions, and receiving yards. But it doesn't feel like he's getting a whole lot of love. He is the tight end 9 right now in drafts. There's a lot of guys going over him that people are just probably banking on having a little bit higher upside this season. Guys like Dalton Kincaid, Kyle Pitts, and George Kittle. Now, George Kittle, I can get on board with. We know he's going to be a headache sometimes, but we know he's going to win us weeks other times as well. But Dalton Kincaid, we haven't really seen it from him before. And when you look at Kyle Pitts, we've seen it from him before, but the things we've seen haven't been all that good. Evan Ingram absolutely just mashed the volume last season, and he was pretty darn good 2 years ago as well. So I think we need to put a little bit of respect on Evan Ingram. If you want to spend a higher draft pick on some of the guys in front of him, feel more than welcome to. Maybe they have a little bit more ceiling than Evan Ingram does. But Evan Ingram, once again this season, could end up being one of the safest bets at the tight end position. And when I think about tight ends, I just want them to be safe. All right, the guy that was supposed to be in this spot, Darren Waller, retired. After that, Logan Thomas. Well, he's not even on a team yet. So I gave the last spot to Hunter Henry, who saw a 5-spot drop from where he was in volume to where he was in efficiency. And I tell you what, that's not really that big of a difference given the fact that Hunter Henry was pretty low across the board except for receiving touchdowns. I mean, yards after the catch per reception, not that great. Catch percentage, not that great. Receptions, not that great. A little bit of efficiency and volume mixed in there. He was just really uneven all the way across the board. But then receiving TDs and red zone TDs, he was right up there in second. And then his points per touch, because he had so few touches and so many touchdowns, was pretty high as well. But if you're looking for a tight end that's basically going to cost you nothing and will probably have a better year in 2024 than he did in 2023, Hunter Henry can be drafted as the tight end 18 right now. Realistically, he's probably going to be a backup tight end for you. And in best ball leagues, he might even be like a tight end 3. But I know my strategy when it comes to best ball leagues, really, I'll spend like 3 later round picks on tight ends that I feel like all have touchdown potential. And my hope is that they all just score touchdowns on different weeks. And I have a tight end 1 every single week. Hunter Henry could fall into that category. They're going to need somebody to catch the football there. Am I super excited about him being a top tight end option? No, not really. But he could fall into the end zone half a dozen times this year again and still find himself inside the top 18 tight ends. And if you add a few more receptions to that and a few more yards, who knows how high his ceiling could end up going. All right, Headliner Nation, it's hard to get long-winded when you talk about the top falling tight ends because there's just not nearly as much to talk about as there was for the wide receivers or the running backs. And for some of these guys like Hunter Henry that only fell 5 spots, really not that big of a fall because the tight end positions all kind of just jumbled together anyway. So if you appreciated the video, let me know by hitting the like button. I've got one more video to do to wrap up this entire series that I've spent 3 weeks on talking about volume versus efficiency. So stick around. We've got some great stuff coming your way after this series is all set. If you're new here to the channel, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications. Anytime we go live, you'll know about it right away. And YouTube is probably going to recommend one of our last videos to you here in just a second. Make sure you click on that if you already missed it. Peace out, Headliner Nation. Stay safe, stay healthy. And I'll catch you all in the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.